Hey, Callum, there we go. Here we are.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, basically, yeah, let's start. Welcome, Callum. You want me to call you Callum, Dr. Callum? How do you want me to call you?
Callum's absolutely fine.
Perfect, Callum. So, well, thank you very much for joining me today, this beautiful day. And as I was telling you, well, the idea of this conversation is to get to know a little bit about you, about your path. You know, how you get to become a candidate. You know, like how you raise your hand, how somebody's like, hey, that's our guy for, like representing all scouts all over the world. And yeah, how it's been this path. What do you want to do? You know, what's going to happen? You know, what do you think is going to happen? What can change with this process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity to speak. So yeah, so my background is I started in Scouts as a Cub Scout, so I was at 8 years old, and it's really funny. Like speaking to most of the candidates, I think we've all joined as Cub Scouts, or most people joined as Cub Scouts. So yeah, I started at that age, went through the all the youth sections in the UK, and then started as a section leader in the Cub section. And I still think the Cubs is the best section. They're that sort of like new stage. They're like keen to learn everything, and they're a great section to work with. So I volunteered with them for a few years, and then I moved across the UK and started being a leader with the Explorer section. So I think that's your venturers in Scouts
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was with them for a few years, did some media work for the county that I was in, and then got the opportunity to join the media team for the Jamboree in 2015. And since then, I sort of raised my profile a little bit within the people who do international stuff in the UK. So then ended up as Deputy International Commissioner afterwards and did that for about 3, 4 years. And then the last 5 years, I've been International Commissioner. And I've really enjoyed the job. It's been an intense time to be international commissioner. So if you think about 5 years ago, I was in role for about a year, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So although international commissioner, my ability to go abroad and do stuff was really impacted for a couple of years. I wanted to make some big decisions about how we could continue to support our members, but also being aware of the impact of the pandemic. And then over this last 5 years, I've really enjoyed the role. So I don't just deal with jamborees and camps abroad. The role of the IC in the UK is to sit on our top level leadership team. So we look across all the work that we do. So program, adults in scouting, safe from harm, perception, all these things we all have a joint view on. And importantly as well, monitoring our strategy and how we're delivering on that strategy. And as I was coming up to 5 years now, it's the sort of time that our leadership roles, we either extend them for a couple of years or we look for different opportunities. And the World's Committee came up as an opportunity. And I looked at it and looked at what we were asked for these people. And I thought, I'd do that already in the UK. So what we're looking for, the strategic oversight and leadership, I do that as part of my role. So it felt like a nice natural move for me. And also with some of the work that I've done with WASM on the Youth Engagement Task Force, but also being at different events, people have come up to me from different countries and said, we think you'd be a really good candidate for the World Scout Committee. So that's sort of like lit an idea in my head, and that's how I got to where I am today.
Wow. No, no, definitely. That's the question I want to know, like where you coming from, and yeah, being an international commissioner, I think it's a great experience because it opens your eyes and actually you help other kids, and youth to get involved with scouting all over the world. So yeah, that's basically the, the dot on the I. So yeah, no, wow, that's I was a cub myself as well. I started as a cub. So and right now with the beavers, a section younger, like I think you have well
Viewers.
squirrels. I'm not sure, but yeah, I have beavers, or I don't know if you have beavers, but I'm 5 to 7 with kids right now. So that's my role as
Yeah,
a
so
volunteer
we
scouter.
we've got beavers, and actually I know a bit about the Canadian beaver program. So when I was at med school, I had to do 2 months in a different country. So I
Oh,
went to Canada, and I was in Toronto. I was at St. Mike's Hospital in Toronto for 2 months, and I volunteered with the Third Toronto Scout Group. And I remember going down and meeting the beavers because they've got their cool little uniforms with little bucket hats
yeah.
and the tail on the back. So when I came home, I was telling everyone about how cool the
I
beaver
don't know if I have
uniform.
one around here. Let me see if I have one, but no, I don't. I don't think so today. But yeah, next time I'm going to be ready for you to show you the my kids' best and stuff. So nice. Well, okay, I'm gonna say hello to all the people over there in Toronto, so you can. Wow. So and Caleb. So and now moving forward, for example, what's your idea when you become part of, like if I'm like if the best thing happens, what's going to be the plan? What are you trying to do when you become part of the member of the World Scout committee, right? What's going to be your action plans, or your idea that could happen, or that you can
Yeah,
improve the world? Because
so I think for some of the work that we're doing, well, a lot of the work we'll be doing will be guided by conference. And so conference is supreme. We get conference together once every 3 years, and they tell us the work that they want us to do going forward. So what I'm going to be spending the next week in Cairo doing is listening to as many people as possible and trying to listen to all those debates that are happening to guide what we want to do, because in the plan, there's a lot of proposed work
yeah,
that we're going to have to do. So we will need to prioritize. And I think listening to as many National Scout organizations as possible over the next week or two is going to be really helpful for that. But what I'm going to bring is my three main priorities. So the thing that I think three things I'll keep central are: the first one is the growth of scouting. And I'm not thinking just a pure top level number, add one, add one, add one. I'm thinking about how can we get our program, which we know is fantastic, how can we get that out to as many young people as possible? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if a young person comes and joins a Scouts group and then leaves after a little while, because we will have impacted some knowledge onto them and some skills that they can use in the future. And they might come back to us again later on. But I think we should take look at as many opportunities as possible to get our program out there. And that might be thinking about how we do the program differently, or how we recruit could be a little bit different as well. Because I think that the main prize here is giving young people more skills that they can use when they're older, not getting the WASM census up as high as it can be. The other thing I'd like to do is to strengthen the links between WASM and World Scouting in the offices that we have and the structures there, and the National Scout Organisation. And I want to keep that link really strong. So, as International Commissioner, I think that role is a key role that we need to nurture more at the world level. So, I'd be looking to see how we can bring the international commissioners together, make them feel part of the home team at WASM, do more regular calls and briefings specifically for ICs, because then they can be our champions on the ground and help us achieve the strategy. And then the final thing that would be core to what I do is really try to role model behaviours around about the committee table and as a member of the committee. I want a real strong, capable committee, but I also want us to be able to speak openly with each other. All 12 of us aren't going to agree on everything every time. And it's really healthy that we don't agree every time.
well,
We
yeah.
should be able to have that bit of a head to head in the committee room. But the most important thing is, once we've made a decision as a committee, we take cabinet responsibility and we go forward and we lead as one unified committee. So for me, I'd be really keen that we work well together. We're honest. We give challenge, but then when we make a decision, we lead as one.
I so those are great 3 points. I love them. Like yeah, it's to be honest with you, I'm going to share that. Actually, I joined Scouts. I leave Scouts. I came back. I leave again, and they just came. Like for a long time. Like I don't think it's a bad thing, as you mentioned, to leave scouting for a while. If something works for you, but I like your idea because I think it's very important we yeah, we reach as many youth people as we can, because yeah, the program, we don't have to change the program. The program is working. The program, it's like the skills for life that you learn, it's amazing. And actually it's a type of life, and I see you, like you become a positive role model for young people, right? So it works, right? And you so how can we get, for example, and you touch another point, like sometimes we're not going to agree with others. How can we tell them, okay, let's get more people, but don't worry about the difficult things or the numbers? How can we do that? That's I know I'm going to throw rocks at you sometimes. But I love it because I'm also in that business. That's my idea. I have a waiting list of beavers, and I want to make sure how can we get them in, right? Because they're already waiting list, but I want more, right? So how do we attack those situations? I'm not going to call it problem. I'm going to call it a situation, because yeah, I want scouting to be, and I want the international commissioners to be talking, yeah, in this case, so we can actually send the Canadian scouts over there, then we have the Brazilian come here, like that would be amazing, because you went to a jamboree. A jamboree change is a life changing experience. And I'm getting excited just to hear you talking, Callum. I really want, I want as many kids as we can to show this.
So I think that we to do this and to try and reach out to even more young people, we can't necessarily just do it all at the world level. We need to get the NSOs bought into this, because the challenge. So there may be some similar challenges that we have here in the UK that you have in Scotland, that you have in Canada, but there'll be specific differences that are due to location and your geography and your culture where you're in. What I think we need to do is we need to get NSOs to realize the potential here. So there's lots of potential scouts out there in their countries that they don't have access to. And then we have to get them, A, wanting to engage with those young people, and then B, ready to commit to looking through those young people's eyes and thinking, why don't I join scouting? And that might mean that you've got to make some changes to your organization. It might mean you've got to make changes to your program. It might mean that you have to make changes to your brand. It might mean you make changes for how volunteering is done in your organization. But we have to be able to look at ourselves in the eyes of a non-scout to try and look to see what those barriers are. You get the benefit of scouting, I get the benefit of scouting. We love what we do, we love our traditions. Doesn't mean they need to go, but sometimes things can appear as a barrier. And there's something that I'm really passionate about, is that I, someone else asked me that what my vision would be for scouting and my goal of success. And my vision would be for a young person, no matter where they are in the world, if they saw a scout group close to them, for them to look at it and not think scouting isn't welcoming for me. So because of my background, be it because of your gender, your age, your ethnicity, religion, level of deprivation, your parents' background, none of that should be a barrier. But we know people perceive it to be in different countries, and we need to try and get rid of that perception.
That's why I like to have in this conversation, because sometimes there's things someone doesn't, like I didn't know these type of things could happen, right? So uh in my case, I feel really welcome when I see a scout, like, hey, like you feel like right away, it doesn't matter, you kind of, you just make the scout salute, like, hey guys, like I'm from here, like wow, that's very impressive. And I think that's a great vision, a great goal to go for it. And I think, yeah, we are in a time, in a historic time, where we need to become a peace movement again. We are the example for the world. So I genuinely like what I'm hearing, Callum. I'm getting excited to go back to my scout group and tell them what I'm listening today, because yeah, this is cool. And not only my scout group, because I do have conversations with other scouters, and as well, because, and that's idea. We inspire. This is also an inspiring thing we have to do thing over here. And then let's move over here, for example, to the other point. You were saying you want to get all the the international commissioners together to be part of, this, to feel part of the team, right? So I love it. Because, also many years ago, I worked in an international team. I was not the international commissioner. I was just, one of the helpers over there in the international office. Uh, but yeah, I think this is very important. This is very key. And I think now also the international department is growing because they're, like before it was just one person like running everything for one country. And now it's not even enough, right? You get exchanges, you get, Candlestick, you get, like different things, jamborees. So you need like a whole team to work together. So would you just get just the international commissioner or the whole team, or how would that work? I don't know if I give you another idea just to make,
Yeah.
like.
No, 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 not at all. So, twofold. I think I really value the idea of having this sort of like trusted special relationship with set volunteers, and the international commissioner is such a key role for leading and for feeding into Warzone. So how I imagine it is that if you were appointed IC of Scouts Canada tomorrow, in my world, if I was successful in getting onto the committee, I'd be pushing for WASM to reach out to you and say, "Hi, Gustavo, lovely to meet you. Welcome on board as International Commissioner. Your main contact to the Bureau is X. What do you need to know about us? Do you need some training? Do you need an induction about how to navigate the World Scout Bureau?" That's what we do in the UK. So if we have a new county lead volunteer or county commissioner appointed, we get them down for induction session at Gilwell Park, and they meet all the key people in the different departments that they might need to know. And it will also give them a point of contact into the office. So I'd be thinking something similar. But the other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to create networking out with that level as well. And I've been really trying to push hard on this the last probably year or two in my IC role, is that we have people that are experts in what they do, but there might only be one of them in an NSO or two of them. And then trying to connect them is really helpful. So at the moment, we're connecting one of our senior IT staff with their equivalent in Scouts Australia, because there's learning to be had, and it might be different to learning that you'd have from another organization that's non-scouting. So I'd like to try and link up all these specialists as well to make things smoother. The other thing I try to do at the moment is that when I get the scout pack in, I send it to the rest of our UK leadership team, and I'll flag program bits to the program commissioner and their team, adults and support stuff to the training team, so they get an idea of what's going on. But I think naturally networks will start to develop with the program commissioners and the volunteering commissioners all working together. So not necessarily everything has to come through the IC, but the IC has got that special point of contact with the Bureau.
No, and I think it's very important because I think it was a very, like it was the last resource, and it was IC just, like was very important when the jamboree was coming close, like it's where it's a jamboree year. Okay, where's the international commissioner, right? Otherwise, it was not an important role. When it is a huge important role for the scout movement, because we're an international largest youth organization. So yeah, we need to empower that leadership role, because if you have a strong international commission in your NSO, wonders could happen. You can sorry, yeah, you can have, again, people doing projects from other places, right? Or just making a network, as you mentioned, right? So, or even simple things like the Jody or Joda, right? The Jamboree on the Air. It's so simple, but and many people don't do it, right? So when you have a strong people in that international commissioner in that international commission, it's you can make wonders, and then you can make kids again going to Candlestick, going to Jailwood Park, right? Or having international trainings. That would be amazing. I would love to receive some people from UK here in Vancouver, to do a training and, show you around our scout camps, right? And then vice versa. That would be amazing.
And that's the thing, because I think at the moment we are, so people do have connections with NSOs outside of the region, but we're probably closer to the ICs within our WASM region. So You and your team will be closer to the Inter-American ones. I'll be closer to the European ones. And that's the nature of geography. And I really value my links with the European NSOs and ICs. I've learned a lot from them. They made me feel really welcome, and they've helped me develop as an IC. But sometimes there's things that you work on that you're looking for maybe other NSOs with the same issue or working on the same priorities that you are. And sometimes you might be the only NSO in your region doing this. So I think it'd be really interesting to see if we can collaborate using this network of ICs that will form across the regions. So a group of people that are looking at data or youth information systems, they can collaborate on that together. Those that have got a specific issue, interest in diversity and inclusion, they can work on that area as well. And it doesn't have to just be constrained by what continent you're in. You can work across that based on similar needs, but also maybe similar complexities of NSOs.
Like it. And also you mentioned something about, for example, getting together. So the getting together the wasn't would be just with this part, like with the international commissioner, or would be in a different level as well, that we can actually get the connection between the World Scout movement and the national scout organizations. Would be a different level, or just in the international commissioners?
Well, we do that a little bit at the moment, the latter bit with the so WASM, I think about is it every 6 months they'll do a town hall that they take people in for NSO leadership. And I think that's quite good. It's a good way of sort of like transmitting out what the questions are. I I see the link with the ICs as being separate to that, and I'd like it to be both ways. So not a webinar where it's WASM on transmit, but one where they can actually listen to the NSO and get the feedback back about what we're doing. Currently, the main way that we will feed into WASM to guide on where we are with the strategy is through surveys, and surveys are really uh, not easy to deliver because it does take quite a lot to work out the right sort of questions, but you don't get the proper information back necessarily. The best thing I think would be maybe on top of the surveys is to have this meeting of your 175 representatives from across the world, and then you get a temperature check on the movement that might not be picked up in a survey. So you might get just neutral coming on the survey, but you can tell that a group of the ICs aren't happy with how things are, and then you can put further resource into that to try and support them.
I really like that. Yeah, because yeah, sometimes as you mentioned, a survey is like really, how you feeling? Good, bad, like,
Yeah.
or neutral, right? So like 1, 2, 3 is like, yeah, okay, just I want to skip and start watching Facebook or something else, right? So yeah, just start skipping, right? So no, I feel you. And wow. No, I'm getting a lot of things from you today, Callum. Thank you so much, because
No worries.
it's a lot, to because 3 years sometimes it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I think we can do a lot of things, and especially right now because again we're in a historical moment when we're changing our World Scout brand.
Yeah.
So that's, how do you think about that? How do you think it's, because we talk about there's sometimes resistance with people, like with the change, and sometimes we don't want to make a big change, but we want to be, like as the beginning of our conversation, we were talking about not changing the program, but we change how the way we recruit persons, or like there's need to be some change. And I think this brand image is going to be something very impactful, especially coming this next week. So what do you think, how it's going to impact all of us?
Yeah, so I find sort of like brand changes, a brand refresh is really interesting. So you'll see our Scout logo there down the bottom left of my wallpaper. I remember when that was announced, and there was so much noise online, so much noise. A lot of it positive, but a lot of people really concerned about it and thought that we were stepping away from the heritage of what scouting was. But then the team who put the brand together, and some of our fantastic heritage team that we got at Gilwell Park, Caroline and her team are fantastic. They found one of Baden Powell's original sketches of what the logo would look like, and it looked closer to our logo that we've got here rather than what our one that we're changing from was. So then we could link heritage. But change is really difficult. The No one wants change. I think someone, I can't remember who said this, but the only people that like change are babies that have got dirty nappies. They want to get that change. Everyone else is quite resistant to it. but I think that we need to really challenge ourselves. Baden Powell was really quite firm when he set up Scouting, wasn't he? He said we're a movement because we always continue to change and we don't rest on our laurels. We have changed from where we were in 1907. We've kept on challenging ourselves and changing to keep ourselves relevant. So I think that we should, yes, there will be some angst around about the brands changing, but I think we should remember why we're doing it. We're doing it for what I said before, is to try and keep Scouting relevant and to keep young people coming to join Scouting. I also think that we need to have a bit of perspective with it. The world, this is the world brand that's changing. It's not changing Scouts Canada's brand. It's not changing TSA's brand. And then we've got that extra work to do to decide whether we want to do with our own brands. So although it seems a big thing, I don't think it's the biggest of issues that we've got to face as a movement at the moment, and we should focus on them.
But you know what? I really like how you put it in place, right? Because I think in scouting in general, you know, people are very passionate for your things, for the traditions, for the colors, for the flags, you know. So when, as you say, when something changed, you know, like, but it, you know, like what happened to this, right? So it's very impactful, and again, we're very passionate about what we have. You know, I don't mind about change because yeah, if it's gonna bring more kids and more youth and more volunteers, because I think that's another thing we need to talk about, volunteering. You know, like probably how we're gonna attack having more youth, you know, because I would say probably that's one of the things, you know, like we need more volunteers to serve the youth in order to have, you know, that amount of people you want to join, right? So that could be another topic, you know, because yeah, definitely we can reach as many
Yeah.
kids and tell them, okay, we joined scouting, but it's like, you know what, we don't have enough scouters to serve you, right? So I think that would be another very important topic to touch, you know, like I don't know, like immortal, I'm just telling you, sometimes I have a wait list because I don't have enough scouters, right? So let's, I don't know, I'm just putting just a small pin
And
over there, like
it's interesting because I spoke to some NSOs yesterday from Asia Pacific region and asked them what their biggest issues were, and the concerns were a number of volunteers and how we can deliver scouting with decreasing numbers of volunteers, and that's a not a perpetual issue, but that's an issue faced by most NSOs. And yes, we need to look at ourselves. We need to see if there's any reason why people don't want to volunteer with us. A part of me does wonder if volunteering itself is changing across the world, be it with the Scouts or whatever. Is the sense of community changing? That people in the past would have given up quite a lot of time to volunteer with the community, whereas now it's the sell is a little bit different. So what I would be interested in doing is that's where I do think we've got the power of WASM to try and speak to national governments to say, what are your views on volunteering in your country? What are you as a country going to do to be able to increase volunteering opportunities in your country? Because the amount of resource that you could unlock if we have these volunteers is huge. But for some reason, people don't want to volunteer anymore. How can we change that? We might need to change it with something like how you sign up to be a volunteer, what our requirements are, or a training scheme. But we've seen other countries, they have things like special volunteering leave, all those things that sort of like
yeah.
incentivize volunteering, because culturally we're in a very different world than where we were in 1907.
And I would say for myself, here in Canada, it's really encouraged in general to be volunteer, even though, for example, if you're applying for a job or something and they see your volunteering experience, right? So for example, if you want to become a police officer, they tell you like, where are you volunteering? Or, you know, like, and they ask you, like, if you start volunteering just to apply for this job, it's like, that doesn't work like that, you know, because we want you to be involved with your community previously before you apply to this job, right? So that's an interesting thing, right? So that encourages, you know, volunteering. As you mentioned, some of the incentives, you know, some of the companies, they give you like, you know, like hour times for having a day off. Or my group commissioner, he actually receives money for his volunteer hours, so he can accumulate, I don't know, let's say 500 hours, and they're gonna put, you know, like a money incentive for the
Yeah.
organization. So that could be another thing. But yeah, and there's other places, you know, like that's also another thing we need to solve, because I think that's a thing we need to resolve and find a solution for. Yeah, because you're a volunteer, and I'm a volunteer as well, and even though I have a different role, but I'm here for my kids, for the youth, and yeah, no, it's good, it's rewarding, and if you're having fun, they're gonna be having fun. So yeah, let's spread the message. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Kill. I think there's too many things and so little time, but so many
Yeah.
things that we need to do.
And I think that's one of my things going into the conference is that I think the world's strategy looks good. It's ambitious, but it's good. We do, however, the plan prioritize things. And what we run the risk of is focusing so much on the strategic stuff that we forget the business as usual and supporting the 175 organizations that we've got out there. So I think we do need to prioritize see what's the most important things for the movement. Because what I wouldn't want to do is throw everything at the strategy and leave the NSOs feeling unsupported for the next 3, 6, 9 years, because then we'll have a backward step and nobody wants that. Gustavo, I'm afraid I need to go in about a
No, no
minute's
worries.
notice.
No, no. I really, I was gonna be to start to wrapping up. So, Caleb, just your final message, and where can we find you? Just
Yes. So, it's thank you very much for the time today. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to serve on the World Scout Committee. You can find me on my social media channels, and any questions, more than happy to answer them. I think my leading point would be that would be my ultimate aim is to make sure that you've got young people wherever they are in the world, when they look at Scouts, they don't feel that it's not a place for them. That's where I want to get to, where everyone can look at a Scout group and feel that they can join it.
Caleb, thanks so much. Best of luck. See you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Gustavo. You have a great day. Bye.